I think you are a representation of what a lot of us who listen to this podcast actually want to do.
The game plan, I think, number one is know who you are.
When you were 18, your mum did something that I think a lot of us would not be able to relate to but may want to do for our own kids.
Listen, you're dealing with a tribe and we belong here and we're going to still kick down doors.
Hello, sisters. Welcome to today's episode of the To My Sisters podcast. It feels so weird to be doing it without Renee, but I have another co-host with me, which is my auntie Diahanne Rhiney.
Hello.
Hello, Courtney.
Looking all hot stuff.
I have to do you proud after. Right. Thank you so much for coming on to the TMS podcast.
Courtney calls, I need to perform.
I appreciate it. And it's funny because we only met in October last year.
Yep.
And it's now May. And since then, I've literally adopted you as my auntie.
Don't worry, I've got many adopted amazing people like yourself.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself. Who is Diahanne Rhiney?
Oh, today I don't know, but who am I? Do you know what? Ultimately, I'm a woman. I would say I'm a positive disruptor. I'm somebody who God is first. Very family orientated. I love business. And I think it's more the challenge than anything else. And I always say to people, believe it or not, money is a byproduct of what I love to do. Because I truly believe if you chase the money, nothing else really well. And I'm just kind of a homebody at heart. I love my house. I love the four walls. I love my own company.
Yeah.
So when I see people say, oh, I'm this or I'm that, I'm just thinking, if you ever knew, I just, macaroni cheese in front of one of my best Netflix programs and I'm in my element.
I love that behind the scenes perspective. But you really, we haven't shared your accolades just yet. But you run a media company, a media agency called Naked Truth. And it is an 8-figure company. It's a global company. And you are the founder of it.
I can't believe it's 31 years. It's just gone so quickly. And I would love to take the credit and say that this was the plan. It was in my business plan. No, it was it was organic, to be honest. And where we only deal with social impact, diversity, social mobility, all those kinds of race relations, meaty subjects that affect people.
Yeah.
Things that make the world a better place if you get it right. So that's what I mean by the money really is the end result. It's more about creating change and making systemic change. 30 years ago, diversity wasn't even a word. It really wasn't, I would love to say that change has happened in the way that I think it should have in 31 years. Boy, have we got a long way still to go.
Boy.
And the dial is kind of stuck, in my opinion. But you have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, you have to keep pushing forward. And I feel like you have, like you described yourself, been a positive disruptor in this space, especially building a company to a global scale, such a huge valuation in the UK as well, because the UK is kind of considered quite small. But how did you break into that global status?
I think I'm lucky. I've lived here, I've lived in America, I've lived in a few places, and it's where the need was. And then you think, well, racism is a global issue, and poverty is a global issue, diseases are a global issue. So you just go where the need is.
Yeah.
And so when I was living in the US, makes sense.
Yeah.
it just makes sense to open up an office there. So it's all about where the need is. And either I'm being really honest, where I feel relaxed, where there's a beach and something where I can go to.
Because the UK is fantastic.
No. And the UK is difficult. The UK is difficult. I have a real love-hate relationship with the UK. I was born here, but often I sometimes feel that we're not wanted here. So you have this real love-hate relationship with the UK. Well, I do. And for me now, if I was setting up my business now, would I have set it up in the UK? Probably not. I probably would not have started off here at all.
Wow. Why is that?
Because I feel that it's just a tougher gig, you know, and I am unapologetic in being a Black female. And sometimes you have to kick down doors, and sometimes I get, I don't know if I can lift up my foot to kick down the doors anymore, you know? So it's that kind of thing. It's like, do I have that kind of energy where I could take that same energy somewhere else and it would just be an easier journey?
I hear that. So I guess I want to go back to the beginning. When I met you in October, it was actually at an event, and I was hosting the event for the Brown Skin Girls Network here in the UK, founded by 4 amazing women who I consider sisters as well. And you were the keynote speaker.
I was.
And you stood up and you talked about building naked truth, being confident enough to really trailblaze your own way, not only in the UK, but also globally within your field of media. And then how, you know, your desire for social impact made you start Swim, right? And Swim, if you don't know, is a charity for women and girls who have been victims of domestic abuse and domestic violence. And it touched me so deeply because I felt like I was listening to a woman who, yes, has hustled, has, you know, done the grind, has really pushed through. But from the way you framed your story, it was very clear that you were standing on the shoulders of a giant, which was your mother. And you did not shy away from letting people know that, like, not only did you build generational wealth, you were coming from a generational legacy of your mother. And you started by saying, you know, when you were 18, when we had our private conversation, you didn't start your keynote like this. That would have been very wow. But we talked and you said, like, when you were 18, your mum did something that I think a lot of us would not be able to, like, relate to but may want to do for our own kids.
Yeah, my mum was a big thing about legacy. She was very big on generational wealth. But sometimes you need a helping hand. And, you know, we talk about when you die and your inheritance, and some people even argue over the inheritance before the person even died. But my mum always said she wanted to see us enjoy that inheritance. So she gave us a large sum of money, and mine was I put towards a house. She gave us a large sum of money, and it changed the trajectory. Because I think when you have a house or where you have something really solid and concrete that you can call your own, again, it gives you confidence. It gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a sense of, this is something tangible. It's mine. Because I think the biggest thing for me is having that sense of security. And it's funny, the strange thing is I never get attached to houses.
Emphasis on the houses. Because since that first one at 18, you've gone on to buy like 5.
Yeah. Because I don't know about now with the inflation and everything else. Sorry, the generation coming up underneath me. Because I just sit there. Please. I sit there and I think, huh? How much?
And I'm really glad that at least like an older person has acknowledged that it's very difficult. We're always being threshed with like journal articles talking about like, oh, it's okay, you can do it, just save more, stop watching Netflix,
do you know what? It's so rubbish.
Stop eating avocado.
It's so rubbish. Because when I look at, it's not just the prices of houses or rent, yeah, it is the mortgage rates and all of these stuff. And I'm like, wow, when are you going to get the time to even save to get your deposit? And people always talk about the deposit, but they don't talk about stamp duty. I'm like, so you have the deposit. Sorry, everybody, if you didn't know this, you cannot put your stamp duty onto your mortgage.
Yeah.
You have to have that cash the same like your deposit. So I think people need to really get real, and especially in London. But it's relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's relative. So yeah, I think it's really important to say, you know, you come back and you know, and don't get me wrong, I think people who rent, it's your house. Trust me, it's that place, but it's your place of solitude and all of that. But yeah, my mum was. People said some people often say to me, if someone said something to me yesterday evening, that a lot of people think my mum's still alive because I talk about her all the time, and people feel like they know her.
Yeah.
You know, and for people who did know her, they said there's such a big gap, because she was before her time. You know, she was, you know, I read black books about where I came from. She used to always say to me, just know when you walk out that door, you come from kings and queens. So, hey, people, you couldn't tell me I didn't come from kings and queens. I was so confident when I was younger because my parents told me I come from kings and queens. My parents made sure that we were loved. So guess what? I was badass. You know, and when my mum used to say, when you walk into a room, just know you've arrived. So yeah, I used to just go around kicking down doors, knowing that I've arrived and saying, listen, but when I went into those rooms, it wasn't just me. I came with my mum behind me, and that's not in actual, she came with me, but in spirit, my mum was there, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, all generational of strong black women. So I was like, listen, you're dealing with a tribe, and we belong here, and we're going to still kick down doors, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, obviously a big conversation around women in the corporate space business world is around imposter syndrome. And it sounds like you, from your, like, handed down from your mother to you, was this sense of confidence and boldness to, like you said, step into a room and know, I'm coming from a tribe of rulership, I'm coming from a tribe of boldness and knowing what your identity is. How do you think that shaped you, particularly in your 20s and 30s when you were really building your company up?
Oh, it was everything. It's the foundation, you know. I do think, you know, it might sound corny, but if you don't know where you've come from, how do you know where you're going? You just don't. But because I knew where I'd come from, I was so like, you couldn't tell me nothing. You know, and don't get me wrong, when I say that, I'm always a student and always have been. I'm always open to learn. I've learned some great stuff from younger people, older people, but I know where I've come from. So I'm very confident in that. I know what I'm good at, but I also know what I'm not good at. You know, and I think sometimes we have a problem, maybe we don't want to appear vulnerable, or sometimes just admitting, I don't know this. You know, I don't know this. And I think the reason why I've done so well is I've stayed in my lane of what I do know. And I've become, you know, and that's another thing I say, people, whatever my sisters you want to be, learn your craft.
Let's go there.
I mean, really know your craft. I mean, when I mentor people and they say to me, oh, I want to be, I don't know, own a beauty company. and I say to them, so how much is the beauty industry worth? You don't even know your craft. You don't know your industry. You know, who are the biggest competitors? How much is the industry worth? What percentage do you want of that? Because to me, if I'm going to be kicking down doors, I want to know what I'm kicking down doors for.
But how did you come to know that?
Yeah, again, my mum is very good in regards to you need to do your business plan. You need to be clear and stuff like that. And some of it, I don't know. There's always this argument, isn't it? Are entrepreneurs born or made? I still think they're born. I think you can be a great business owner, but a true entrepreneur, I think they're born because you have to be a risk taker. There's no guarantee. And some people, and there's nothing wrong with this, that you want to work for somebody, know that you're going to get your paycheck at the end of the month and you know where you are and that's what makes you feel secure. That's not me. I'm unemployable, you know. That's not me, because I think actually if I lose a client, that means I've got to get another client.
Yeah.
So I'm actually more in control. Whereas if I worked for Mr. Blobby and he says, sorry, love, don't want you today, going to make you redundant.
Yeah.
What do you do?
What do you do?
Just go home? Yeah, no.
Yeah, I guess people figure it out, but I get what you're saying because I also consider myself unemployable. I'm just like, you do not want me working under you.
No, I mean,
I'll be great.
I would be great, but I would be their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's 12 o'clock and you've got an hour for lunch. What? Do you know how long I take to sip my smoothie?
I actually love that. Okay, so then, I'm always talking with you about this on WhatsApp, and I'm always like, Auntie Diahanne, give me the game plan. I feel like mentorship is so important in that way.
Yeah, I do.
In that you've gone down a road which I'm trying to follow. You know what's ahead. On our podcast, we always talk about like getting someone who can tell you there's a ditch ahead of you so that you can re-navigate, and really be careful with your steps. And I'm always on the phone with you like, okay, so I've taken a step. Where do I go next? The sisters listening want to be put on game. If you had to go back and speak to your 20-year-old self, just bought a house, but also you're trying to now get your career going. You've got this phenomenal mother who has impressed so much onto you around your identity and your confidence. What is the game plan to really continue that legacy and build your own?
It's interesting. I think the game plan, number one is know who you are. And it sounds something like, it's not easy, and I mean, know who you are. And that's sometimes going in places that are dark. I had a great upbringing, but I still have certain traumas through other things. And you just think you need to confront those. You need to know what are your triggers. You need to be able to be honest with yourself and say, I'm great with money. I'm not great with money, whichever it is. Because if you're not true to self, you're going to go down a really, really, really negative spiral quite quickly. So I do think it's about knowing yourself. I'm a big, not because I am one, but I'm a big on therapy, really talking it out. Yeah. And I think that's really important. I also think one of the game plans is read. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
It is power. And I don't think necessarily it's just about reading within your sector. It is reading so that you have a worldly view. Yeah. Travel. Get to find out about other cultures. If you can buy, sisters, the younger ones, if you can go to Costa or Starbucks every day, that little money, if you want to travel, put it together and travel. Even wait for the cheap deals. Trust me, as you hear me, I love a voucher. Anybody who knows me, I love a voucher. Freeness, love it, love it, love it. So don't think I'm not one of these people like, let's go here. I remember when they used to do, I don't know if you guys remember this, they used to do this thing in one of the newspapers, and you could go fly somewhere for £1.
No, don't know this.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And you used to have to collect let me tell you, I used to collect those coupons, and people are like, you don't need to collect them. Why? That's how I keep my money.
True. True. I like that.
You know, people get it twisted. You know, they think people who have money, a lot of the times I'm not mean to myself.
Right.
That's one thing I'm not. But we're careful, but we're sensible. If I can get a discount, why would I not?
Yeah.
You know, but I think traveling is so important.
Yeah.
You know, really understand people, because this is the world we're in. You know, people buy from people. And I say this all the time with AI and all this great stuff that's going on social media, you guys. It's so funny because some of the younger members of the team, I'll say them to do something and they'll email or their text or their WhatsApp, but they rarely. And I say, did you pick up the phone? And they're like, what? Like, pick up? Actually pick up the phone and have a conversation. I said, oh, why don't you arrange to meet them to go for lunch? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't get it. Your net worth is your net worth. It really is. Because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know where that person's going to end up. And that's key to success in anything, is really getting to know other people.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I would add something that I learned from you. I think the first time we spoke, you said something that really impressed on me, which was people don't want to earn their stripes.
They don't.
And like, especially as young people, there's this urgency we have to succeed.
Yeah.
It's like, you can earn your stripes. And I think it really stuck with me because you were commending me and I do love affirmation. But also it was more so we try to rush past that process that comes with learning from people like you or people in our lives who can really show us, who can save us time. But we see that process of mentorship as a waste of time.
It's an investment.
It's an investment to save time.
It's an investment in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I always remembered when I did do an internship, and back then, I don't know about now, you know, like you get these paid this, paid that. Paid? I didn't live in London. I used for 6 months, used to come on the train, and the train, listen, it wasn't like how the trains are now. You had to push down the window, put your hand out and open the door.
Wow.
Proper old time trains, yeah? Anyway, so I used to come in on the train into London, which took about an hour, get into London, I learned so much, you know, about media, people, PR, and all they paid was your lunch money. They didn't pay my travel, they didn't pay for anything. And some days I think this is just...
It's giving exploitation.
Yeah, I was like, but guess what? To this day, the things I learned then, I still use today.
But then how do you balance that, right? Let me advocate for my girls.
Advocate.
Let me advocate for my girls, because how do you balance that genuinely in... You've acknowledged like a cost of living crisis, housing prices are crazy.
Yeah, how people taking the mick.
You know, people taking the mick and being like, let's do this free internship. I have bills to pay.
Yeah, I see. It's going to sound really weird because I do think, you know, obviously academics and all the stuff that we need to do to become experts in our field and all that. But a lot of my decisions have been made by gut. If it feels right. You know when someone's taking the nick, don't you? Come on.
Yeah.
And then you know when actually I'm learning so much, you know.
That's where.
And I'm not going to lie, some of it is trial and error. But some of it is just gut. And I always say that's God talking to me.
That Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And when God said, this is right, this is good, you know, because, yeah, you have to balance bills and living and stuff like that. But I also think you can balance, I can afford to do this one thing for free.
Yeah.
I can't do it past 3 months.
Yeah.
Or, you have to work out what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
But come on, I think that people can if they were investing in themselves. If they went on a course for 3,000, 5,000 and have to pay that up front, that's still money that do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
it's a cycle. I hear that. I wanted to touch on the generational legacy point, because I think it's so beautiful that whilst maybe not everyone can relate to getting that lump sum of money from their mum, mummy, I love you, you've done so well. I think we all inherit something from our parents, whether it's mindset, a level of confidence, money, like actual inheritance. And I think what's funny, and it's going to sound so weird and lofty, is I think you are a representation of what a lot of us who listen to this podcast actually want to do, which is when you become a woman of like generational wealth or of legacy, you get to give something to your children as an inheritance, and then they become like you, right? And I think you represent women who have had a similar story to you, but also want to give their children a similar story to you. And I think it's just so beautiful to see. So now that you are older and you have children, and I am one of those adopted children, how are you handing on your legacy and building them up to leave a legacy for themselves?
Yeah, well, I actually probably raised them very similar to how I was raised. I talk about finance and business all the time. I talk about, you should invest in this. They're only 16, I don't care. You need to invest in this because, you don't have to pay inheritance tax on it. And it's all about that sharing of information. It is all about that, because you don't know what you don't know, isn't it? Right? And one thing what my mum imparted was, I'm going to tell you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, so that you then can pass that knowledge on. So I think when some people learn something and keep it to themselves, I think it's really, really sad. And as a community, it does us a lot of harm, because no one's an island. I say, yeah, you can earn lots of money, but who am I going to go to lunch with if my friends and my sisters and my family are, slogging themselves out and they can't come to lunch with me? Yeah. That's a very boring existence, going to lunch by yourself, eating your avocado, mashed avocado, sourdough bread. So there's a few things I do, no, not just for my immediate children. So I sponsored 3 young women every year, and I pay for their university fees. My mum said education is the one thing that can take you out of poverty, because I didn't come from wealth. No, my mum grafted and my dad grafted, and it's just how they chose to invest that grafting, and that's about knowledge as well. What determines something being low risk, medium risk, high risk. It's all those kinds of things that it's just good to have that information. So will I impart the same gift to my children? Yes. But then I also have to show them how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's that constant learning. I constantly learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you can do. You can sometimes even just in passing on a book. Like I've journaled for all of my life, and I'm sure there's some interesting bits there that I can pass down.
Yeah.
And I think it's all those things that you can catalogue for your children, and show them that it's not always been a smooth road.
Yeah.
And it isn't about the destination, it is about the journey. And sometimes navigations take you different routes. One, to avoid certain things, but sometimes it's because that's the better route. And, one of my mum's favourite sayings is, every disappointment's for a good. You don't know at the time. Sometimes you're just so upset and so mad. Like, why?
Why?
Why me? And then next week you think, that's why, I see why. And so I just think we're so busy planning our future.
Yeah.
that we don't live in the moment. We don't enjoy the moment. I mean, when we both are Taurians, and so when I celebrated my birthday recently.
What does Taurians mean?
Huh?
What does Taurians mean?
Taurian?
Like Tauruses. Oh yeah, we're both. Okay, yeah. I don't do horoscopes. So I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're both Taurians, and I just think, to me, reaching another year is huge. You know, to me, it's huge. It's a privilege. You know, there's so many people who do not make it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I'm really funny when people say, oh, my birthday's on the 20th, but I'm celebrating on the 19th. Okay, you're going to get there. I know, I've had a friend who, was planning his big 50th, and he died a few days before. So I truly think, sometimes we just need to enjoy the moment. And sometimes just sitting and that we can see, we can hear, we can smell. I just don't think people understand how much of a privilege that is. And I do not take any of that for granted. And I say to the girls, the twins, that, we live nice now, but all of us, me, everybody, is one paycheck away from being homeless. Don't ever forget it. We are. Yeah, me included. People say, oh, that won't affect you. Why? Why? People think the more you earn, the bigger the house, the bigger the mortgage, the bigger. So it's all relative, isn't it?
Relative. Wow.
But I would definitely say, though, don't all put your. People say, God, but you've got so many different types of businesses. Not put all your eggs in one basket. So, like property. If that has an issue, I've got media. Media has an issue. I've got psychology. I've got beauty. I've got different things, so that I'm solely reliant on one sector. Because if that sector goes down, what are you going to do?
That's game right there. But it's so true.
What are you going to do?
Especially nowadays, you actually the pandemic taught that. What? That was a big lesson the pandemic taught all of us. Don't even try it. One industry, even if you have 7 streams of income, let them not all be connected to one.
Yeah, but a lot of people, they do.
Yeah.
I think it's because of what they feel comfortable, right?
Absolutely. And what they have time for.
Yeah, but I just, I think if I'm a good business person, as long as I do my due diligence on that sector, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I'll get a mentor in that sector.
So that you can learn fast. I love that. Well, since we are talking about legacy, what would you like your legacy to be?
Do you know what? Mine would be really simple, because I'm actually quite a really simple girl at heart. Yeah. It would be something on the lines of, I came, I tried, and I hope I imparted something that somebody can continue on this journey called life.
That's beautiful.
Because, that's all you can do, isn't it? Is hope that if I've touched one person, do you know what? I've done my job.
Yeah.
And I've done my job.
I feel like legacy is always on the front of your mind, because when you were talking to me about that eulogy thing, I was like, it's so true. Like, we don't often think about what our eulogy will be when we pass, and that we're actually creating that story or that speech.
Oh, God, yeah. We're writing the book. People don't understand every chapter is part of your legacy. And I personally, I'm not saying I've never upset someone or done something wrong. But the difference is I've never intentionally gone out to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And for those who I may have wronged and don't even know, for that I am truly sorry, because I just think it takes so much energy to be horrible. And you just think, why would you want to be that, It's like, look at today, it's sunny. People are always happy when
the sun
it's a good vibe. Happiness is a good vibe, My word,
I actually need to put that on a t-shirt. Happiness is a good vibe.
It's a good vibe, isn't it? You feel good.
Yeah.
I think when you're angry you just don't feel good about yourself. And actually, people, when you're angry, it creates certain things in your body that actually, from a health perspective, can make you unwell. Like stress. Like, what is that? I don't stress. I try not to, because what's the point? What is the actual point? You cannot control certain situations. That's why I can't work for people. People are just going to stress me out. Oh, no. And then when I drop down dead, they replace you tomorrow. Uh-oh, with the little card. No, thank you. I can't do that. I'm really sorry. For those of you who are loyal to your companies, I'm really sorry, but that's the reality. Oh, dear. Okay. Okay.
I hear it though. I do. I think, especially as women, being mindful of stress and how it even affects our hormones. But like you said, overall, as humans, how stress affects our health. It's really
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time. Mentally, physically. It's a bit like the elephant in the room. I think we need to admit that as Black women, we have generational trauma, historic trauma, and it sits in us. And it's about learning your triggers and learning about you so that those things don't become a stress point, don't become your pain points. And people just don't want to talk about this, but you know what? Being Black, being a Black woman is sometimes hard bloody work. It really is. But you know what? This is why podcasts like this and what you and Renee do is so important, because when you have a tribe, you're not alone. I've got 2 sisters, and I remember one time a situation happened, and I rang my eldest sister and said, and she said, oh my God, I can be a big sister for a change.
Wow.
And I can't tell you, just having that person to just vomit to was so important. And I didn't realise how much that my sisters just wanted to be my sister, because they say that you're always doing. We just want to be and know that we're and it's nice to know that if I closed my eyes and fell backwards, I've got a tribe that can catch me.
I love that. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, we are ending all of our guest episodes with a little activity.
No, Lord. She didn't tell me nothing like this.
No, you've actually got this. So we want you to impart a piece of knowledge, a piece of wisdom, and leave the sisters with something, starting with to my sisters.
To my sisters, what I'd want to impart in you is what was told to me. Look in the mirror every morning and evening, actually, and tell yourself that you are enough. And I don't mean just, I'm enough. You stand tall in that mirror and look at yourself and say, I am enough. I don't think people realise enough how when you believe in yourself, because you have to believe in yourself first more than anything else, how transformational that is. So it's not just saying it in the mirror, it's standing tall, taking a deep breath, looking at your curves, your flaws, your scars, looking at your beautiful brown, black skin and saying, I'm enough, because girls, sisters, we got this. We have got this.
Come on. Oh, thank you. I feel so empowered. Honestly, like this is how I leave all of our calls and all of our chats. Like I am actually so privileged to say that I get to talk to you on a level and really be honest and transparent about my journey as a woman. And I am so appreciative that you came and you imparted that into the sisterhood. You have done so much for the culture. Like the more that I speak to my friends, the more I realize that you are in their story somewhere. And I'm like, how do you all know my answer? No.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know what? It's about, that's why you have to be really careful in life, because you just don't know who knows who. I've always been shocked when people have come up to me and said, "Oh, I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful." So, you have to be kind to each other.
You built an amazing reputation, an amazing legacy. And honestly, thank you. Thank you so much. My prayer for you is that you'll continue to have a positive impact on the lives that you get to touch. You touch so many young women through Swim, so many amazing people through Naked Truth, and your mindset is so infectious. It's like you can't come around Diahanne Rhiney and not want to go out and be a better person. And I appreciate it.
And I pray for you that God continues, and all the sisters, to show you favor.
Oh, I felt goosebumps. I felt that. Oh my God. She's my auntie. Please don't message her and be like, "Oh, can you please. I felt that and I received that. Amen. Oh, thank you. You've got well, Diahanne Rhiney. We will do you proud. Lovely. Thank you so much. Well, sisters, if you want to follow Dr. Diahanne Rhiney, please do. All her information to all her social media will be in the description. You make amazing content for women of all ages. So they'll follow. Yeah.
We got this.
It's in the process. It's in the process. But also follow To My Sisterhood. Get plugged in with the tribe of women who are trying to leave an amazing legacy in the world by following us absolutely everywhere at To My Sisterhood. Of course, you can also follow me at CD Boating and my amazing Destiny bestie, Renee, who's not here, but she's around, at Renee Kapuku. Make sure you sign up to the mailing list on tomysisters.com. You already know the drill. And as always, sisters, keep glowing and growing.